Got to get to the 43. Pocket collapsing, Ryan rolling, looking, just going to throw it deep for Jones, double coverage. Oh, what a catch! Touchdown!
In case you didn't know, this is Julio Jones. Julio Jones was drafted back in 2011 in a stacked draft class that included the likes of Von Miller, Cam Newton, AJ Green, JJ Watt, Justin Houston, and even Andy Dalton. Jokes aside, even with this generational draft class, Julio has separated himself from the pack. In fact, he was such a highly regarded prospect that the Atlanta Falcons even traded up to the 6th overall pick to select him, and the rest is history.
On Sunday, not about our opponent.
Going deep, looking for Jones. It's triple covered, and he caught it. No.
After review, the receiver got control of the ball, went to the ground. The ball did not touch the ground. He maintained complete control. The score is good.
Julio's rookie season back in 2011-2012 gave viewers an immediate glimpse of the enormous potential he had. Jones finished the season with 1,015 yards from scrimmage, which is just a fancy term for total yards, and 8 total touchdowns while playing in just 13 out of 16 games. The following year, Julio managed to log a full season, something that would unfortunately become a rarity, but more on that later, and put up a career-high 1,198 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns, and was selected to his first Pro Bowl, which actually held weight back then. Then, the 2013-2014 season saw Julio start off red hot, as he was averaging a career-high 116 receiving yards per game. However, Jones faced adversity for the first time in his career, as he suffered a foot fracture in the Week 5 matchup against the Jets that would cause him to miss the rest of the season. But Julio Jones, being the machine he is, did not let this injury slow him down by any means. The year following his foot fracture, Julio put up historic numbers when he caught 104 passes for 1,593 yards and 6 touchdowns, and set the franchise record for receiving yards in a season, a record that he would later break multiple times. Julio's reign of dominance had officially begun, and he wasn't slowing down anytime soon.
And he's looking for Julio Jones, and oh, what a catch! Touchdown, Atlanta!
Rolls out, now fires, end zone for Jones! Touchdown!
Screen, Ryan looking that way, going deep for Jones. He makes the catch, and he is in!
No, but when I was in high school, they called me Waffle House.
Waffle House? You know what? I'm not going to use that.
Know why?
Why'd they call you Waffle House?
Because I'm always open.
Ooh, nice. That, you know what? I may have to reconsider on Waffle House.
Well, Julio was right, because the following season, he was always open. Julio's 2015-2016 campaign was perhaps the single greatest season we've ever seen from a wideout. Jones posted career highs in catches and yards as he put up an unfathomable 136 catches for 1,871 yards and 8 touchdowns. This historic feat marked the second most receiving yards ever recorded in a single season in NFL history at the time. Cooper Kupp would later get more, moving Julio's to 3rd all-time. Additionally, Jones led the NFL in yards per route run this season. If we look at this graph, with the x-axis being the number of routes and the y-axis being yards per route run, Julio is in the far top right quadrant, signaling that he not only ran more routes than basically anyone else, but also showed the best efficiency on those routes. It would be hard to replicate the greatest season we've ever seen from a wide receiver, but Jones did his absolute best and did not disappoint. The following season, Jones posted an impressive 83 catches for 1,409 yards and 6 touchdowns in just 14 games, I might add, and helped the Falcons reach new heights. They finished the season with an 11-5 record and were soaring into the playoffs. After beating both the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers, the Falcons would take on the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 51. However, on February 5th, 2017, tragedy struck.
Game in the NFL. Here is Coleman, end zone, touchdown!
The Falcons had a commanding 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl when they somehow had one of the most absurd and puzzling collapses in the history of football.
Off the clock, and they've done a good job not giving up big plays. Now they'll throw. Pass is caught. That's White. Touchdown. Exactly the same distance as an extra point. 33-yard try, and Gostkowski has made this a 2-score game. Brady. End zone touchdown. Amendola. A direct snap, and it's good. James White, 8-point game. Handoff.
the Tom Brady-led Patriots valiantly stormed back into the game and won in overtime.
To White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his 5th! What a comeback!
And Julio Jones would still be without an illustrious Super Bowl ring on his resume. Despite this, Jones still left his mark in the playoffs, averaging 111.3 receiving yards per game that postseason, and he had one of the greatest and most impressive catches in Super Bowl history. Clearly, Jones didn't let the Super Bowl loss affect his game, because 2017 was more of the same for Julio, as he snagged 88 catches for 1,444 yards and 3 touchdowns, and again led the entire NFL in yards per route run with just over 3. But the Falcons would once again fail to hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the season's conclusion, as they fell in the divisional round to the eventual Super Bowl champion Eagles. This would mark the second straight season in which the Falcons would succumb to the Super Bowl champions in the playoffs. Julio's 2018 season was also one of the greatest receiving seasons of the decade, as he posted 113 catches for 1,677 yards and 8 touchdowns. In terms of his yards per route run, Julio was in a league of his own this season. If we take a look at this graph, we see players like Doug Baldwin, Emmanuel Sanders, Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, and then all the way up here in his own zip code is Julio Jones. Julio was 29 years old at this point and showed literally no signs of slowing down. The Falcons, however, did. They posted a measly 7-9 record and missed the playoffs. Sadly, the Falcons would never again reach the postseason during the Julio Jones era.
He's going to go all the way. Touchdown.
Now, at this point, Julio had turned 30 and was surely going to slow down, right? I mean, how many receivers can play at a high level into their 30s? Not many, but rest assured, because Julio was one of them. In 2019, Julio's age 30 season, he caught 99 passes for 1,394 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jones was named to his 4th All-Pro team, and he was an Atlanta Falcons legend at this stage. But the year 2020 presented challenges for the future Hall of Famer, like it did for many people around the world. Jones sustained injury after injury and finished the season only appearing in 9 games. When Julio was on the field, he was still quite effective, averaging 85.7 receiving yards per game, while putting up 51 catches for 771 yards and 3 touchdowns. But unfortunately, this would be just the start of some tragic and never-ending injury problems for Julio. Additionally, the Atlanta Falcons decided to start a new era of their own by rebuilding and trading away the best player to ever wear a Falcons jersey. On June 6, 2021, Julio Jones was traded to the Tennessee Titans in exchange for a 2nd and a 4th round pick. So, the Julio Jones era in Atlanta was over, and he left behind a legacy that will never be forgotten. He finished his tenure in Atlanta as the all-time leading receiver in Falcons history. A new team, a new number, and a new chance for Julio was presented in the 2021 season, but Jones' lingering injuries would simply not go away. As a member of the Tennessee Titans, Jones would play in just 10 games while averaging a then career low 43.4 receiving yards per game. The Titans were a run-first team and they ran a lot. In fact, they led the entire NFL in total rush attempts that season with 551. Jones was hardly healthy, but he was getting career-low targets when he was on the field. Since 2018, his targets have decreased every year, and going to a team that runs the ball more than anyone was not going to produce fruitful numbers for Jones. So, in the 2021 offseason, the Titans released Julio. He later signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers led by Tom Brady, the man who cost him his Super Bowl ring, and unfortunately with the Buccaneers' already solidified receiving core of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, Julio struggled to see targets once again during the 2022 season. On top of this, his snap count, a metric that measures how often a player is on the field, was at an all-time low of just 48%. To put this into perspective, in Jones' record-breaking 2015 campaign, he played 85% of the snaps. Jones posted career lows in catches with 24, yards with 299, and yards per game with just 29.9, while playing in 10 out of 17 games. After his brief stint in Tampa Bay, Julio was signed by the Eagles, but that also did not go well. And finally, on April 4th, 2025, Julio Jones decided to call it a career, and what a career it was. So, I've taken you through the entire timeline of Julio Jones' career, but what does all this mean? Well, context is ever so important when evaluating a player's career, and Julio's career has a lot of context. But one thing is abundantly clear. Julio Jones belongs in the Hall of Fame. Julio is 16th all-time in receiving yards with 13,703. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler and a multiple-time All-Pro. He ranks 28th all-time in catches with 914, and his receiving yards per game mark for his entire 13-year career is an impressive 82.5 yards per game, which is the 6th highest ever and the 3rd highest ever by any player who's played at least 6 seasons. I also want it to be known that if you remove Julio's Shaq seasons, his yards per game was a staggering 91.9, which was the highest of all time. Alright, back to the video. The great Jerry Rice holds the record for the most receiving yards ever with 22,895, but at one point, believe it or not, Julio was on pace to break this seemingly unbreakable record. If we compare their stats when each player had played 126 games, it actually isn't even close. Julio had an inconceivable 12,125 yards, whereas Jerry Rice had just 10,433. Rice had him beat on touchdowns, but in my opinion, touchdowns are a team statistic, and Julio is often used as a decoy for other players to get open in the red zone. Additionally, his longtime quarterback Matt Ryan was a terrible red zone quarterback, but that's a discussion for another day. The one stain on Jones' legacy is that he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but as you now know, he left it all on the field that day, and nothing more could have been done on his part. He even had one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history in that losing effort. According to Pro Football Reference's Hall of Fame meter, which is a metric designed to estimate a player's chances of making the Hall of Fame using career milestones and total accomplishments, Julio is above the average Hall of Fame wide receiver, with a score of 108.6, making him an obvious choice to one day hear his name enshrined in Canton, Ohio, forever. Julio Jones has the statistics, the pedigree, the Pro Bowls, and the respect of football fans everywhere to one day make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I would go as far to say that Julio isn't just a Hall of Famer, but at his peak he was the best wide receiver to ever play the game. Thanks for watching.